Greetings from the evening, everyone. Or that's when I'm beginning to type this script anyway. As of recording this, it's actually morning. But before we get started, I want to say a few short warnings. In this video, I will assume that you know a decent amount about FNaF 1's mechanics. I will try to explain some things, but I don't want to slow this video down since this is mainly an analysis of how FNaF simplicity works so well. Because of that too, moderate spoiler warning for FNaF 1, I guess. Also, I will be using footage from FNaF, so there will be some flashing lights throughout the entire video. You've been warned. With these being said, let's begin. So you probably already get how FNaF 1 works, which I'll be referring to by just FNaF for the rest of this video. It's pretty straightforward after all, mainly because there aren't that many mechanics. Sure, there are a few, especially with how the animatronics work, but still, not that many. And the mechanics that are there are pretty simple in and of themselves. You know, you track Bonnie and Chica with the lights. You want to see if they're ready to battle you, if you will. You look at Freddy and Foxy with the cams, and whenever you're in danger, just shut the doors. Pretty simple. And a lot of the time, FNaF can be broken down into these just couple of actions to succeed. In that way, it can be pretty easy to pick up, and that's great, because the mechanics are simple and intuitive. FNaF has friendly gameplay and doesn't take too long to learn. But that does come with its issues, because there aren't a ton of mechanics. When you learn how those work, FNaF can get kind of repetitive. If you're always just looking at cameras and flicking the lights and closing the doors, you're bound to get bored at some point, and you probably will sometimes. FNaF 1 isn't really the kind of game you would replay all that often. But there's something else about this simplistic style of gameplay I want to talk about. The main reason why I'm making this video. And that's because there's something beautiful about how simple FNaF is. Sure, the gameplay usually boils down in a basic way, but there's something else to it. I don't mean the Easter eggs, or the randomness, or the intricate little details of AI which can be studied. Don't get me wrong, those are all amazing parts of the game, but there's something else which I, at least, think is even better. And that something else is how the animatronics interact with each other. Bonnie and Chica are basic threats. They walk down your hallway, and you gotta react when they reach you. Foxy needs to be stalled and checked on constantly. If you let him out of your sight, you're as good as dead. Freddy is a looming death machine who, like Foxy, must be stalled or he'll slowly come to you and will be an issue if he makes it. Sorry. But that isn't all, because everything that happens with one animatronic affects how you deal with the rest. Since tracking Bonnie and Chica with cams can be inconsistent and costly, you're probably gonna use lights on them more. But if you're spending time looking at the lights, Foxy and Freddy have the chance to move forward and be more of an issue. This is a very basic example of how animatronics can interact with each other. It's also one of the most important examples, as it forces you to balance between stalling Freddy and Foxy and checking for Chica and Bonnie. And there are many examples like this. If you don't check lights enough while keeping an eye on the camera gang, if you will, you can get in a pretty serious pickle. A few days ago, I played FNaF to look at some of the interactions, actually, and this exact thing happened. I was checking Foxy too much, and I died because of it. And these kinds of interactions are really great, because they can come at basically any time and force you to adapt to them, which is fun. It's a gameplay. And that can especially be the case for some less common ones. Let's say Foxy's about to attack you. He's at the final stage of peeking out, and you need to keep an eye on him. But at the same time, Freddy progresses and gets in your hallway. Let's say the back of the hallway, right? On its own, this is already a very interesting situation. You need to figure out how much you want to check on the two at a time to keep Freddy away from you and to prepare to close the door on Foxy. But you're probably also going to have Chica or Bonnie in one of the hallways, so you need to check lights to make sure they don't get to you. And on top of that, if Bonnie tries to attack, rather than Chica, you can close the door and get a few moments of safety from Foxy, allowing you to put more focus on other things. And of course, you also need to think about your power usage and how much time you should spend tracking any of them at all. This is what I think is so cool about FNaF 1's simplicity. There aren't that many moving parts, but because of that, the parts that are there play really interesting roles which all work in tandem to make you react to a variety of situations. It makes you think, that's gameplay. Whenever something comes up, another thing probably will, and probably another thing. And then when you have all these things interacting with each other, you have to react on the spot, split-second decisions, and you gotta constantly be thinking. And that is awesome. That's really fun. Even though, like I said before, it can occasionally get repetitive. Really, actually, in some ways, FNaF isn't simple at all, because the dynamics of the game can be so complex. But because these dynamics are built on a simple set of rules, FNaF's complexity doesn't come from overcomplication. Actually, it kind of comes from the opposite. And that's why I personally still think that FNaF is simple in a way. So usually, for conclusion, I like to go over things again just to tie a nice little bow on everything. But honestly, there's not a ton of this video. Here, FNaF is simple, but actually complex, but actually kind of simple anyway. There you go. There's a conclusion. No, I'm kidding. Instead, I want to mention something else for a moment, actually. What this analysis is about isn't all that rare. I mean, don't get me wrong, FNaF is definitely a stronger case of simplicity turning into something complex, but other games have hidden complexities too. Even really complex games have them a lot of the time. It's like Complexception or something, I don't know. But even though other games have this, like I said, FNaF is a unique case. It's a really strong case. Like what this whole video is about, it doesn't have more than a handful of moving parts. But despite this, it can honestly be an incredibly interesting and surprisingly deep game. And at least I think that is awesome. Thank you for watching! I hope you enjoyed the video, even though it was a little bit shorter than usual. It was meant to be a little thing for Halloween, but, obviously that's a little bit late now. But despite those, I hope it was still enjoyable anyway. It's just a tiny little rant about why FNaF 1 is so cool, or why I like it. As always, I'm super open to suggestions and criticisms for stuff and all of that, so please don't hesitate to comment. Let me know if you think there's something I could do better, or if you actually have something you want me to talk about. I don't know all games, but if you look at basically anything I've made videos on in my channel, pretty much any of those probably, just go look, take your pick, whatever you like. Anyway, I hope to see you soon for something. I'm thinking of maybe making a Terraria final boss analysis, because that could be kind of cool, but we'll see what happens. I'm not quite sure yet. But see you soon. I really hope you enjoy. If you do, please like and subscribe and all that, because you'd be fun numbers, and you'd get to see more of this kind of stuff, which I'm really hoping to keep making. Yeah, that's all. Bye!